We are here with Mr. Sam Witwer, a.k.a. Starkiller, a.k.a. Davis Bloom, a.k.a. Wow, vampires. Now, you were even a sparkly vampire yesterday.
Oh yeah. That was so I'm doing a bunch of pictures and stuff, and Sam Huntington, my co-star on Being Human, is getting glittered up by this lady, this woman.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bunch of people over there, and so they're calling me over. It's my turn to get glittered up, and I really don't want to, you know. I'm like, no, and they're pulling me over, and then I look, and Carrie Fisher comes right up to me and starts glittering me up. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I can't say no to Princess Leia, so I got heavily glittered. I mean, I was covered in it.
Nice. Well, I guess I'll kick us off. Something I've kind of wondered is a lot of roles that you take, say with Smallville, Davis Bloom, and your current role in Being Human and Starkiller, a lot of those really are characters that you can really relate to and like often, at least for me, but I kind of have this dark core to them. How do you get into character, and how do you portray someone who's usually might be considered pure evil, but you kind of have to, I guess, how do you maintain that likability sometimes?
I think you have to play them all as good guys. You know, Davis Bloom was sold to me as a good guy when they offered me that part, and I think you need to think of these people as all people who have really good intentions, but are dealing with various challenges. I mean, Starkiller, for example, was, you know, he was a good kid deep down, but he was a guy who worked for a terrible organization. You know, he worked for Darth Vader, and he did all these bad things, and Vader raised him badly. So he was confused. He had confusion, but I think that's something that we can all relate to in terms of these characters, you know, and the challenges that they face, because we all want to be better than the way we are, right? So I think that's it. I think you start with the character always has to be reasonable to the actor who's playing him. So
okay, I was wondering. I know I have many favorite characters, and I can never pick which one is my absolute favorite. But do you have a favorite character to play?
Well, you know, Aiden from Being Human is an extreme challenge because I not only have to play this addict, this guy who's trying to recover from being an addict, but there's also this vampire thing that makes it so that I have to reinvent the character at various times, periods in history.
Yeah.
Because, you know what, when they gave me the script, he talked like a normal guy. And I'm like, okay, well, great, he talks like a normal guy. But then you have to ask yourself why, because a guy who's 257 years old is not going to talk the way that we do. He has so much more life experience, you know. He's so much more stuff to draw from, and a command of the language that's so much greater than ours. So then I reasoned, well, he's hiding. He's learned to disguise himself based on the time that he lives in. So, you know, depending on what a 25-year-old is like in 2011, that's what he'll give you. Or in the 70s, a 25-year-old in the 50s, that's what he'll give you. And we get to go this season into the 30s. And so we get to see an entirely new version of the character.
Cool.
So we get to keep adding layers and layers and layers to this guy, which is really, really fun. But then also, just from a pure fan perspective, I love Starkiller. I really love that guy. I think he's cool.
Yeah, it's a very unique character, and I think really fit well into that time period between, you know, episode 3 and episode 4.
Yeah.
Because it was a very dark period in the history of Star Wars.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about Starkiller is I always conceived of him as like a photo negative of Luke Skywalker, right? And I think the reason that character caught on to people these days is that, you know, back in the day, in the 70s, we had Luke Skywalker, who was this, you know, well-meaning, bright-eyed farm boy. He had a good upbringing, and he goes off, and he's naive, and he has challenges, but he goes off and he goes on his hero's journey. The thing with Starkiller is this is a guy who was raised, you know, by a terrible, terrible man. He works for this awful organization, and that he basically works for the Empire. And he, you know, look, in the 70s, I wasn't there. They were definitely cynical. They had things to deal with. But I don't know that they had the media machine that we have these days, where we just have this blanket of white noise that covers us, and we don't know who to listen to. We don't know who our friends are, who our enemies are, who's lying to us, who's telling us the truth. We just have this sickening feeling that we're being manipulated, and that's Starkiller all over. So in a weird way, Starkiller is Luke Skywalker for the 21st century. I think we all relate to this feeling of not knowing, you know, what we should be doing. And you know, if you really break down that character, it's brilliant. Hayden Blackman really nailed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was wondering, yeah, and we were in your Smallville panel the other day, and you mentioned that something you geek out about in answer to a question was Star Wars. I was wondering, why do you like Star Wars?
Why do I like Star Wars? Because it's an amazing parable for not being a dick. It's 6 movies. The theme of it is don't be a dick. But no, it really breaks down mythology, but also morality into some very very easy to work with terms, and I really enjoy that. If it didn't have that heart to it, I wouldn't be interested in it.
Yeah, and speaking of Star Wars, another project that you've done is Clone Wars, where you voiced the Son.
Yeah.
What were the differences between the Son and the Starkiller in the way you approached the character?
Well, okay, I was afraid that the Son was going to sound too much like Starkiller, right? So I said to Dave Filoni, I go, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm afraid. Is it okay if he sounds like Starkiller? Because it's my voice. I mean, how should I do this? And he goes, Starkiller had a connection to the dark side of the Force, and you're basically playing the dark side of the Force as the Son. So it's okay if a little bit of Starkiller is in there. And the moment he said that, I was like, well, then if Starkiller's connection to the dark side means we can hear a little bit of him in the Son, then we should also hear Darth Maul. We should also hear Darth Vader. We should also hear the Emperor. So
all with very distinct voices, by the way.
Absolutely. And never to do a full-on impression of those characters, but to give a moment where it dips in, where he says, Anakin, we can, whatever he says, something along the lines of, join me and together we can end this destructive conflict, or whatever he says. It's very Vader-esque, so you dip into the Vader rhythm, join me. Yeah, or, for example, what is it? There are moments where he dips into the Emperor, where I think there was something where, he says something like, how simple you make it, light and dark, as if there is one without the other. Just a little
and
moment.
Has that Ian McDiarmid
cadence
there.
And I did the Emperor for Force Unleashed, so I was really happy to just dip into these different characters.
Awesome.
And little Darth Maul moments and just little things that weren't necessarily in the fans' faces. It wasn't in your face, but it was subtle enough to where it would evoke these feelings from the other movies.
Now, I know you probably can't answer this, so I won't get you in trouble, but we'll phrase it this way. Would you like to return to Clone Wars, maybe not, even if it's not the Son, but return to do voiceover in the Clone Wars?
I have already returned to the Clone Wars to do voiceover.
Oh, really?
I am currently, as we speak, working on episodes, many episodes, for a character that I have not played yet. Well, what can I say without getting fired?
Yeah, we don't want you to get in trouble or anything.
I'm told the announcement's going to happen in a couple months.
All right, cool.
It's
a nice tease.
It's an amazing character. It is an amazing, amazing character. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I was driving over to a buddy's house, and Dave Filoni calls me up, gets me on the phone, and he says, listen, so we want you to come back to work, and we need you to play, and he tells me the character's name. And I almost had a car accident. and he says, can you do it? And I'm like, yes. And then I worried about later whether I could do it or not. But I was like, yes, I will do that.
There you go.
So it is a tremendous opportunity, and I can't wait for you guys to find out about it.
Awesome. We're really looking forward to that. Well, I've played piano since I was very small, and I was wondering, you went to Juilliard.
Yes.
And you're a musician yourself.
Yeah, but I went to Juilliard for drama. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, why did you choose drama over music?
Well, because I guess I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I do everything a little bit good. I don't know that but I'm like, for example, I'm not like the best musician, or I'm not the best this or the best that. And really, as an actor, you have to be able to pretend at any one point. Maybe you're playing a musician, so you must pretend that you're an incredible musician, or you must pretend you're this guy, or pretend you're this athlete. So if you can do everything a little bit well, that fits better for an actor. As a musician, I'm very second rate. But I would, if you're curious.
I think I would probably disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. Check out the Crash Tones on iTunes. The Crash Tones is my band.
Okay.
I'm trying to kick out a second album.
Cool. Hear that, guys? Check it out.
Check it out.
Well, Sam Witwer, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Good to talk to you.